Hey guys, I'm Lanre. I'm the head of ecosystem for Neutron, and also I lead the grants program. Thanks very much for having me. I will explain briefly what Neutron is, but I think most of this talk will be on kind of like giving you guys the pitch for Neutron, why we think, like, there's a lot of Cosmos chains, there's a lot of smart contract chains, all saying they do all great kind of stuff. I'll explain a bit more about what our thesis is on and why Neutron's cool and important, and hopefully you like it. And then over the course of the week, if you have questions for me about specifics, like I'll be here, so just feel free to ask me. So the presentation, why Neutron? So Neutron is a smart contract chain within the Cosmos. It's a permissionless smart contract chain built on CosmWasm, and our main thesis is around integrated finance, right? In Cosmos, we have a lot of chains, application-specific chains, and then we have, on the other side, normal permissionless smart contract chains like Ethereum or Solana. We think by combining application-specific infrastructure with synchronous composability, like the kind you find on Solana or Ethereum, we can just create better applications and better products and allow developers and entrepreneurs to create better products on top of Neutron. And we'll explain how we came to that thinking and why we think that thesis makes sense. So right now, like in my point of view, Cosmos is a very innovative space. But the issue with Cosmos is historically not been very product-focused. Liquid staking is an idea that was ideated by a lot of Cosmos OGs, but the product that really succeeded at first was Lido on Ethereum. Restaking is another idea that started as interchain security and was ideated years ago in Cosmos, or maybe Bitcoin, arguably. But EigenLayer was the product that really succeeded. And this is a made-up quote on Twitter from someone on Twitter, but the best tech doesn't always win, but the best product usually does. So having a really good technology platform, which I think Cosmos generally has, is not necessarily enough to create a really good product. And so over the last year, Neutron's been around for a year, we've really been thinking about, okay, how can we create a platform which allows developers and entrepreneurs to create better products, especially in finance? So the question we ask ourselves, so what makes a better product in finance? Typically, especially philosophically, I align with crypto's values. I would say maybe decentralization, trustlessness, or self-custody. But especially kind of thinking about it and thinking about the kind of products that have succeeded in crypto as of late, that isn't necessarily a good enough answer. Maybe this is the answer for Bitcoin or Ethereum, but I think for a crypto project in 2024, that isn't necessarily sufficient. We argue that a few of the key features are capital efficiency. So I have a certain amount of money. How effectively and efficiently can I use that money within an application or financial product? Accessibility. How easy is it for me to use a given product or application, given I have £100 in my bank, €100 in my bank account? How quickly can I deploy that into a product or application? And then synergy. How can I use and integrate and interact with different products within a given ecosystem? And these are three principles we think are very important based on some research we've done. And yeah, so far, crypto's not really been great at any of those three. I think, certain things have done well in spite of those. Other things have done well because, number has gone up or whatever, but I think crypto's generally not very good at these three. And so we ask ourselves the question, how do we change that? Don't know what's happening here. I think there's an issue with the slide. And so we have like three principles and three user stories we'll talk about very briefly, which kind of explain how we aim to kind of solve this as a platform and for app developers on top of us. So the first is don't settle. So kind of thinking about the history of finance, finance started as like a P2P physical marketplace of goods in London, wherever, migrated to the trading floors before going to kind of OTC deals on the phone, and now electronic order books. And one cool thing about crypto is that kind of like, I see crypto as like a further step of innovation in form of that. Around 2016, 2017, order books, on-chain exchanges, order books were created. So Ether Delta was probably one of the earliest or the first kind of on-chain order book created in crypto, it was really cool. But the issue was that it was really slow, really expensive, so it wasn't really usable or viable for most kind of everyday financial applications, or to even exchange meme coins or tokens. The next step after kind of on-chain order books was AMM. So Uniswap, this is a picture of Uniswap v1. I wasn't in crypto early enough to really use this, or kind of maybe just didn't realize it. But Uniswap v1 was cool because, for example, it was a lot more effective, a lot more kind of cost effective, and kind of the latency was kind of still bad, but it was a lot more cost effective than Ether Delta. And so quickly from Uni v1 and kind of further iterations, and especially when the AMM model was refined, it was a lot easier to kind of exchange tokens. And this, I guess, was the first example of decentralized finance. And I would say AMM's democratized market making. So it made it really easy for an everyday person to market make. And this kind of explains why, especially in 2017, 2018, a lot of the early tokens and ICOs were launched on Ethereum and post there, especially 2020, 2021 onwards. But the issue is that kind of AMMs did not deal with or democratize capital efficiency or profitability. So the current model with AMMs is extremely limited, and despite the fact they're the primary kind of product or successful product within crypto. And there are two issues here. So poor pricing. Right now, AMMs are very bad at quoting the up-to-date last price of a coin like Ethereum, Bitcoin, or whatever. And this means it's extremely unprofitable for LPs to LP most pools on AMMs. And we believe that integrated markets can fix that. And we can do this in three ways. So firstly, Neutron has an inbuilt order book called Duality, which is just launched. The order book. Neutron has that kind of inbuilt order book, which is just launched, and allows people to kind of much more, like, as an order books inherently are kind of a bit more effective and efficient than AMMs. It's just hard to build them in an effective way on a smart contract. So Neutron has an inbuilt order book. We have enshrined infrastructure, including the order book, but other things such as the cron module, an enshrined Slinky Oracle, which allows people to get up-to-date prices of many different assets that are listed on centralized exchanges. And we have a thing called a Super Vault, which essentially is like an AMM, but it dynamically updates to the last traded price on centralized exchanges. This means it should be a lot easier for kind of AMMs is one example, to get better pricing, allow for profitable LPs, and better capital efficiency. Because, like, and kind of this is something I can probably talk to kind of people that are interested after the talk. But designing kind of Super Vaults specifically in such a ways that they quote around the last traded reference price of a given asset, such as ETH, Atom, or BTC, we're able to much more capitally efficiently kind of LP assets, and that has a lot of spill-on benefits across the ecosystem. I won't read all of this, but in essence, the path of financial markets has always been the case of driving to better efficiency and profitability, and technological innovation has always served that end. And we believe that by creating integrated infrastructure, we can create more efficient and more effective products. And I think as a result of that, for anyone that wants to build on Neutron, new application devs and any application devs or entrepreneurs that want to build on Neutron, that can be a good way to get new capital and more capital and users into use your application if you were to be built on Neutron. And then secondly, connecting the drops. So Neutron, and especially in my role, I'm very focused on ecosystem integration. My role is head of ecosystem, and I think one big benefit about crypto is synchronous composability. The fact that I can use an AMM and then immediately interact with a liquid staking protocol or interact with a lending pool all in one transaction. And this has not always been a thing that has existed in crypto, in Cosmos specifically, or Cosmos L1 specifically. So on Neutron, and especially a lot of the work we do on the ecosystem side, is very focused on allowing dApps to cross-reference each other in a kind of very seamless way, present an integrated experience, and then also really double down on synchronous composability, which is a thing that has worked very well on Solana, for example. Solana allows people, like Pumped Up Fund is a good example of an app that synchronously allows someone to create a token which immediately locks up and burns an LP pool, thus ensuring that people can launch tokens in a relatively safe way. This is a bit less common in Cosmos. Sorry, this is another broken slide. And then the holy grail, the long-term vision, is to have a wider ecosystem of self-referential and related tokens. So for example, Drop is our liquid staking protocol, which can also be used as a collateral asset on Mars, which is our perps and derivatives protocol. And anyone that wants to come to build a Neutron, especially we're looking for people wanting to build yield-bearing stablecoins or yield-bearing assets, there are many options to integrate your application or your product further into some of Neutron's staple assets. Move on from this slide. And yeah, we really believe that composability and synchronous applications are key to crypto succeed. And I think it's one thing that crypto really does well compared to traditional finance. And we're doubling down on that and kind of want to work with anyone that wants to also, or at least believes in that vision also. And then finally, so right now, using crypto is a bit of a mess. Like the process from going from a new user to kind of having never interacted with crypto to successfully deposited into a given app or whatever, probably takes about 30 minutes from head to start. Just to lay out the process, it looks something like this. You have to discover the app, go to the app store, create a wallet, write down the seed phrase, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we're really focused right now on trying to find ways to simplify this down to potentially 3 or 4 clicks. Just you discover an app in Neutron, kind of on the Neutron website. You create a wallet in the browser. It'll be kind of an integrated wallet. you submit your first transaction, and then you succeed and carry on. And this is, I think, quite hard for kind of new app devs to do if the infrastructure around the chain is not seamless and good enough. And this is something we're really focusing on. Yeah, and kind of, like, I think at the end of the day, no matter how great a product can be, if the product cannot be made as simply as possible and cannot be allowed to be made as simply as possible and accessible as possible, it's really hard for that product to succeed. And I think a lot of examples of crypto DeFi products that have done really well this cycle have really focused on kind of making them as accessible as possible. And we think, as a chain, we can really help you guys with that. And to close, we believe in integration along the whole of the stack, from infrastructure, so we talked about enshrined DEXs and enshrined oracles, to applications, building integrated applications, to the accessibility, integrated accessibility. And we believe that by integrating all aspects of the stack, we can really turn better tech into better products, and that at the end of the day is what's going to attract more users and more kind of capital into the ecosystem and into whatever product you guys decide to build. So yeah, that's everything from me. If anyone wants to ask questions, feel free. Apologies for the slide mishap there. And yeah, I can explain more about specifics around Neutron kind of just over the rest of the course of the week, but thanks guys for listening.
Does anybody have any questions? Yeah? All right, I need some cooperation here, so help me out, guys.
Say more about the duality integration. Does that mean the DEX is now enshrined in Neutron protocol, so when you're building a dApp, you don't have to worry about liquidity?
Yeah. So for example, I mean, maybe this is a bit of an alpha leak. So like technically the protocol upgrade to kind of deploy the duality module, which is essentially an order book built into kind of the Neutron chain, which is run by our validator set, is live. Probably in about a week or so, we're going to have the public-facing user interface, and then also a few kind of products such as market-making vaults go live with it. But yeah, it's technically live. If you have a smart contract, you can, in theory, interact with it today. But the big public launch will be like in a week or so, yeah.
Any more questions? All right, one more hand of applause for Lanre.
Awesome, thanks, guys.